Dexter is officially on its most impressive episode run of all time. You know when a TV show pulls off something so impossible, so outrageous, that you almost wonder if the universe glitched to make it happen. That's where I'm at with Dexter Resurrection. And honestly, I don't say this lightly, because Dexter's history with finals, ratings, and angry fans is as bloody as one of his kill rooms. But right now, we are living through the single most impressive episode run in Dexter's history. No joke. No exaggeration. And yes, I'm about to prove it to you with receipts, forbidden knowledge, and a theory so wild that if I'm wrong, you have full permission to roast me in the comments. So let's cut straight into the vein here. Dexter Resurrection has pulled off something the original series could only dream of. Since episode 3, every single episode has landed above a 90/10 rating on IMDb. That's 7 consecutive episodes in a row, people. 7. Think about that. This isn't some random streak like your Spotify Wrapped telling you that your most played song was elevator music. You don't stumble into a 7-episode streak this good. This is intentional. This is calculated. This is a creative team saying, we know what you hated about New Blood. We know what you loved about Trinity. And we're not just fixing Dexter, we're resurrecting him. But before we get too comfortable, let's step back. Remember New Blood? Remember the hype, the promises, the interviews where everyone said, this time we'll get it right. Yeah, and then they gave us a finale that was so divisive it made the Game of Thrones finale look like a group hug. I still remember sitting there, jaw on the floor, asking myself, did they just waste Dexter Morgan again? And honestly, I swore to myself that if they ever tried to bring him back, I'd never let my guard down again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, clearly I've been fooled twice because here I am, fully hooked again. And here's where it gets even more shocking. Resurrection isn't just good. It's historically good. It's rivaling Breaking Bad Season 5, which is considered the holy grail of crime TV streaks. Think about that. Walter White standing shoulder to shoulder with Dexter Morgan. Can you even imagine these two sharing a screen? I mean, who would crack first? Dexter trying to analyze Walt's moral code, or Walt calling Dexter an amateur with too much plastic wrap? Drop your crossover theories in the comments, because I can't be the only one who has pictured this showdown. But here's the forbidden knowledge they don't want you thinking about. This streak didn't happen by accident. This was Showtime's gamble to redeem the entire franchise. Think about how carefully you'd have to plan each script, each death, each shocking twist to avoid another New Blood backlash. This streak is proof that they went back, studied their sins, and wrote Resurrection as if it was the final shot at redemption. And honestly, it might be. Quick poll for you: how many of you actually forgave Dexter after New Blood? Be honest. Comment. Still salty if you're holding a grudge, or forgiven if you let it slide because of Resurrection. Personally, I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, I'm impressed, but I'm also waiting for them to stab me in the back. And not in the fun, plastic-wrapped kill table kind of way. Now, let me hit you with the real problem. The tension that has every fan holding their breath. Dexter has a final problem. Always has. Season 4, iconic. Season 8, infamous. New Blood, straight up traumatic. Which means Resurrection's finale is walking into a minefield with gasoline-soaked shoes. If they mess this up, this entire record-breaking streak could collapse in a single night. And tell me honestly, would you ever forgive the show again if they nailed 9 straight episodes and then botched the finale? I couldn't. That would be like cooking the perfect steak and then dropping it in the dirt before serving it. And this is where you watching right now, need to pause for 1 second and hit that subscribe button to break down epic. Because I promise you, if this finale goes nuclear, I'll be here with the evidence, the theories, and the therapy session we're all going to need. Okay, now let's go deeper. You want secrets? Here's one: the streak isn't just about the ratings. It's about who they're killing, when they're killing them, and how each death ties back to Dexter's original sins. Angel Batista's shocking death in Touched by an Angel. That wasn't just fan service. That was poetic justice, a brutal callback to every single moment Dexter thought he could outrun his past. The showrunners aren't just giving us blood, they're rewriting history, episode by episode. And here's the theory that's gonna keep you up tonight. What if Resurrection's finale doesn't just close Dexter's chapter, but actually reopens the Bay Harbor Butcher case once and for all? Imagine New York's authorities piecing together the patterns, realizing the truth about Miami, and putting Dexter's legacy on trial in a way we've never seen before. It would make Resurrection not just a redemption arc, but a retribution arc. And that would explain why every single episode feels like it's building to something explosive. Now, let's be real. This kind of streak doesn't last forever. And that's where my anxiety kicks in. Because if you've been here on Breakdown Epic before, you know I have trust issues with TV shows that promise perfection. Cue flashback to my rant about Sullivan's Crossing breaking logic with its plot twist. Don't even get me started again. But Dexter has 1 episode left to prove it's worthy of being mentioned alongside Breaking Bad, Sopranos, and all the greats. So here's my hypothetical for you: if the finale sticks the landing, does Dexter officially become one of the greatest crime dramas of all time? Or has the damage from seasons 5 to 8 and New Blood already sealed its fate forever? Drop your verdict below. I'll be reading every comment like Dexter reading blood slides. And before we move to the deeper theories about the finale's forbidden secrets, let me throw some humor in here. Because let's be honest, who else feels like watching Dexter right now is like dating your toxic ex? They hurt you before, they swore they'd change, and now they're giving you the best 7 weeks of your life. Like how long before the red flags show again? Alright, if you thought page 1 had you on edge, buckle up, because now we're heading into the forbidden territory, the whispers, the hidden setups, the finale theories so wild they almost feel illegal to say out loud. Let's start with the obvious question: why is Dexter Resurrection suddenly flawless? Why, after years of hit or miss seasons, are we suddenly living through a run where every episode feels like a home run? The easy answer is better writing. The real answer: secrets, the kind they don't admit in interviews. Here's one Resurrection has been mirroring season 4, episode by episode. Think about it. Episode 3 kicked things into high gear, just like Blinded by the Light. Mid-season death shocked us, just like the Trinity arc. And the emotional stakes keep climbing, to the point where fans are whispering, is this deliberate? Are they reverse engineering the glory days to trick us into trusting again? And if so, what's the cost? Because let's be honest, if you've been around this franchise long enough, you know nothing comes without a body count. And that's why I'm convinced the finale's biggest forbidden twist isn't Dexter himself dying, it's his legacy being erased, rewritten, or worse, publicly exposed. Imagine the Bay Harbor Butcher legend, once a ghost story, becoming a headline splashed across every paper in New York. That wouldn't just be a finale, it would be a reckoning. Now, I know some of you are already typing in the comments, Sophia, no way, they'd never risk exposing Dexter like that. He's too iconic. But think about it. Isn't that exactly why they do it? Breaking the myth to rebuild it. Resurrection has already proven it's willing to cross lines we thought were sacred, killing Batista for example. If they'll do that, what makes you think they won't torch Dexter's carefully built empire of lies? And speaking of empire, let me loop you back to the comparison we made earlier with Breaking Bad. Walt's downfall was inevitable. We knew Heisenberg couldn't ride into the sunset. But Dexter, he's been slipping away from justice for so long that the very act of catching him would feel like forbidden satisfaction. Like the writers giving us the closure we were denied twice already. Poll time again: if the finale ends with Dexter finally exposed, would you cheer, or would you feel betrayed? Drop justice. If you'd cheer. Betrayed. If you'd rage. I'll admit it. I'm torn. Part of me wants him caught, but the other part, the darker part, that part wants him to keep winning. Because isn't that what made Dexter so addictive in the first place? That we rooted for the monster under our beds. Now, let's talk rating streak again, because this is where the history lesson gets juicy. Only a handful of shows have pulled off consecutive 90-10 rated episodes. Breaking Bad, The Wire, some argue Game of Thrones season 4 before everything went sideways, and now Dexter is standing among those giants. But here's the kicker. Dexter is doing it after failing. It's like the show died, got buried, and then clawed its way back to the surface, dripping in blood but more alive than ever. Tell me that doesn't sound like Dexter himself. And since we're all friends here, let me make a personal confession. I swore after New Blood that I was done. No more Dexter. No more endless hype followed by disappointment. But then I saw the early Rotten Tomatoes score for Resurrection, 95%, higher than the original seasons. I laughed. I said, no way, they're trolling us. And then I watched. And here I am, 9 episodes deep, eating my own words like Dexter eats steaks with Hannah. So if you're new to Breakdown Epic, let this be a lesson. Don't listen to me when I say I'm done with Dexter. I'm a liar, a fraud, a repeat offender. But hey, at least I admit it. Let's lighten the mood with a callback. Remember when I compared Dexter to your toxic ex on page 1? Yeah, well, now it feels like that toxic ex just booked you a surprise trip to Paris and actually remembered your birthday. You're happy, you're impressed, but you're also wondering, what's the catch? Where's the knife behind the back? That's exactly the energy going into this finale. And speaking of finales, let's hit the theory vault. Here are the 3 forbidden possibilities for how Resurrection ends. The legacy exposed theory: Dexter's crimes finally surface, his name becomes infamous, and his son Harrison is forced to live under the shadow of a legend turned monster. This would tie everything back to New Blood while giving Resurrection its brutal full stop. The silent sunset theory: Dexter survives, but at a terrible cost. Maybe he loses Charlie, maybe Harrison, maybe even his entire identity. He fades into the shadows, alive but hollow. Fans hate it. Critics call it bold. Twitter explodes. The ultimate redemption theory: Dexter dies saving Harrison, flipping the script entirely. The monster finally makes a selfless choice, and the cycle breaks. It's poetic, it's divisive, and it would guarantee that no two fans ever agree on the finale, just like old times. Which one do I think we're getting? Honestly, my gut says legacy exposed. Why? Because Resurrection has been obsessed with legacy from the start. Batista's death wasn't random. The Bay Harbor Butcher whispers weren't filler. This entire season has been about Dexter's shadow finally catching up to him. And if that's true, then the finale isn't about survival, it's about judgment. Now, before I wrap this up, let's inject some humor. Imagine if the finale just ended with Dexter waking up in Miami and it was all a dream. Can you picture the riots? I'd throw my TV out the window. Or better yet, what if Deb suddenly walks in, alive, saying, "Surprise losers, it was my kill room all along." Okay, obviously not happening, but admit it, you laughed. And here's my final roast: if they give us a finale worse than New Blood, I will personally wrap this show in plastic and drop it in the ocean. Don't test me. So, what happens next? That's where you come in. Drop your finale predictions, your wildest theories, your anger, your hope, whatever you're feeling. Because this streak isn't just history, it's personal. We've all been through the highs and lows of Dexter together, and if Resurrection sticks the landing, we'll be talking about this season for decades. Alright, I'm Sophia, this is Breakdown Epic, and I'll see you after the finale. Whether we're celebrating a masterpiece or roasting another disaster, either way, we'll be here together. And remember, sometimes the darkest secrets aren't in Dexter's kill room, they're in the writer's room.